Good morning, good morning, good morning. You're listening to Good Morning Albany. Today we have Mell T, the loan, the community loan officer. How you doing, boss?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm all right, man. I've got to know this guy. I got to know this guy. I've got to know this guy over the past couple of years through pictures, meeting his family. They welcomed me with open arms. And this is my boy now. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. All events.
All events. I'm at
Every
all
single
events.
event I'm at, you're at.
All of them. Man, I had a wedding. I had a wedding in Florida. I was there day 2 days before. This guy pops up at the wedding. You everywhere, man. You everywhere.
Everywhere. You have to be.
So I want the people to know, what is a community loan officer?
Okay. So a loan officer is someone who handles the financing end of purchasing a home. So you got a whole team when you go into a home, like we talked about earlier. But my job is to handle the financing so you could purchase the property. Now, community loan officer, this role, I'm actually going out into the community. The company I'm with now offers grants, so I'm able to help more, first-time home buyers buy homes because a lot of times, people have credit, they have a job, but they don't have a lot of money saved because of, the economy we're in. So now I'm able to provide those grants to help these people get into a home.
Oh, that's
So,
that's perfect. So if you guys are listening and you guys want to purchase a home, here are some of the first steps that
mhm.
you should take. Give them maybe one, two, even three steps in the process of buying a home.
First step is contacting a loan officer. Um, I know it's biased for me to say, but if you go to a realtor and the realtor doesn't know how much money you can, borrow, they don't know what kind of house they could show you or what price range of homes they can show you. So most of the time, that realtor is going to send you directly to a loan officer anyway. So contacting your bank, contacting someone reputable that you trust, to look over your finances, to look at your credit, to look at your assets to see, where you are in terms of price range, is definitely your first step. And back to the question you asked earlier in terms of what's more important, your credit or having that asset available. Credit is number one, because you can have a bunch of cash on hand or in the bank, but if your credit's not well or good, the bank's still not going to lend to you. So you can have all the money in the world and you go to apply for a mortgage and your credit score is not there, they still won't, give you a mortgage.
So, what's the ideal credit score?
I mean, most banks can go down to like a 600, some go down to a 580, but ideally you want to be at a 640 or higher, because your interest rate really depends on your credit score. It's a risk factor to the bank. So
Yeah.
the lower your credit score, the higher your interest rate is going to be because you're more of a risk in the bank's eyes to borrowing money.
So, break down a 640 interest rate and maybe like a 700 to 740 interest rate.
I mean, you can't really there's other compensating factors that go into that. However, you are going to get a much better credit score. I mean, interest rate at a 640 or higher. Once you get in 700, you're even at a better interest rate because now it's again less of a risk to the bank, so they charge you less for borrowing the money. So
Mm.
that's what interest is the bank charging you for borrowing funds.
Mm.
Yep. So,
Okay. So once you come check you out,
mhm.
you let the people know they're approved for
Yep.
200,000. What's the next step?
Next step is going out with a realtor. So, usually you have a team of people. I have a team of realtors that I work with. And if they don't have someone already, I'll recommend them to some of my realtors so they can fill them out. So I'll basically issue that pre-qual letter, which will state how much they could afford in terms of purchase price. And now that realtor is going to take them out and start looking at homes. In the meantime, my job is to collect their documents, while they're out looking. So that way we can get you pre-approved. So the difference between a pre-qual and a pre-approval is a pre-qual is me looking at your document and saying, all right, based on what I see in our conversation, this is how much you could afford. Pre-approval is now you giving me the documents and now the bank is approving your file. So your offer is that much stronger if you and your realtor go put an offer on a house, someone's pre-qualified, but you're pre-approved, you have guaranteed funds.
Mm.
So that seller is most likely going to go with your offer. So I work on that pre-approval process while you're out looking at homes. So you're kind of 2 steps ahead.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This is a deep process right here.
It's a process, but the goal of your team is so you don't have to do legwork.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The goal is for us to carry you to that end of owning a home. You know, you don't want to be stressed out. It is a stressful process because it's one of the biggest investments you'll ever make for most people. But that's why you have a team around you to do the ins and outs for you. And while you sit there and just get your updates while you're waiting, you know, to close on your first home or second home.
All right. So you're the first step. You go with your realtor on the second step.
hmm
He come back to you to do.
In that meantime, while you're out with your realtor, I'm going to be in communication with you saying, hey, these are the things I need so I can get you pre-approved in the meantime while you're out looking. Once you find the property, now you have your home inspector that comes in because you want to make sure it's structurally sound. You don't want to make sure there's no foundation issues, no leaking roof, all these different things that you don't want to fix after you own the home,
Mm-hmm.
right? You want to be able to either negotiate or have the seller fix the issues that might be come up prior, or it might be something you're like, I don't want to deal with this on to the next house,
All right.
so the inspection is very important.
So let's rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
When they first come to you, is there a fee associated with whatever you're
No.
going to do?
No, the only fee that's really associated is pulling your credit report, but it's really always embedded in your closing costs anyway. But there's no fee of seeing how much you can qualify for. Most people will shop around, so a lot of people don't know that. When you go to apply for a mortgage, you have like a 14-day shopping window. So a lot of people will go to one spot and not want to look at other options because they're scared of their credit being pulled again. Oh, are you gonna pull my credit? Are you gonna pull your credit? But if you go to one bank today and another bank tomorrow, it's one counts as one pull. So you don't have multiple inquiries on your
Mm.
credit report. So a lot of people don't know that.
Okay, that's good to know. So now, when you go with the realtor, is there a fee associated with that?
No, so a lot of times people think they're paying their realtor, but at the end of the day, the seller actually pays your realtor. So the realtor is free for the buyer. So a lot of times people don't know that. So they're on Zillow, they're up in the middle of the night doing their research on their own when they can have someone who's professional that knows the market doing it for you for free. And then they get paid at closing by the seller.
Okay. So now you're first, the realtor is second, the inspector comes in third. Is there a
hmm
fee with the inspector?
Yes. So there is an inspection fee. It depends on the company for that range. It's not required by the bank, so it's not something that's included in those initial numbers that we send you. But it's highly recommended. You know, you don't want to go into a house not knowing what you're getting into. I had a borrower recently who was buying from their stepfather and still got an inspection.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though the stepfather's like, yes, it's perfectly fine. We just renovated it. They still got an inspection just because, again, they wanted to cover their.
Yeah, I understand. So, okay, third is the inspector. Now, what's
Mhm.
next after that?
So if you decide to go forward, your attorney. So you're gonna go through attorney approval. So you're gonna send your contract to the attorney. You know, depending on inspections, everything's good and go. Your attorney is going to be the person who's gonna handle all the legal stuff. So if you have any legal questions or you didn't want to negotiate the price, your attorney's gonna do all that with you with the seller's attorney. So there shouldn't like myself or the realtor is not gonna be talking too much legal stuff because you have that person representing you, which is also coming out of your closing costs. So that's not someone you're paying separately. It's all in the numbers I give you because I include that attorney fee.
All right. So now we get to the attorney.
Mm-hmm.
What if someone is at ground zero, knows nothing about any of this?
Mm-hmm.
How does this person learn about the attorney without even getting to the attorney?
I mean, that's our job. One of my things I send out a campaign when I pre-qual somebody for a home. I send out 3 other emails saying, "Hey, meet Mel, meet the team Mel. Here's the documents I need, and here's a roadmap to this transaction." You know what I'm saying? So it gives them a roadmap of what steps. But myself and the realtors that I work with will explain the journey with them. So there's no surprises, there's no hiccups, there's no like, oh my God, I needed this because we want to make sure again that you're not doing any late work. And if we don't tell you that, you're going to end up doing a lot of late work. So keeping you updated. Um, but yeah, the team I work with, we recommend these people. So we have a network that covers all bases for the transaction. So it's not like you're left on your own to go find an attorney. Some people have family attorneys that they use, but I always recommend that it be a real estate attorney.
Mm,
You know, it can be, you can have a family return attorney, but they might not necessarily deal with real estate.
yeah.
I've been in a closing with, I had a borrower who had a family attorney that didn't specialize in real estate. And a lot of times they were turning around to me, asking me specific questions that I haven't been asked before in a closing,
Mm,
you know, that the attorney should know, you know,
okay.
so, and you're paying them. So you want to get a bang for your buck, you know?
Definitely. So let's just say we go from 0 to 10. We get to 10. We're ready to close. The
hmm
house is 150,000. Do I put down 10, 15, 20%? Like, how does this work?
It depends on the loan program. So there's multiple loan programs out there. There's programs that's 3.5% down, 5% down, 20% down, depending on the program, depending on the property you're buying. Is it a single family? Is it a multifamily? These things all take consideration when the loan officer like myself puts you in a loan program. There's not only one type of mortgage. There's
Okay.
multiple products. So a mortgage is us financing it, but the different products of mortgages is what determines how much you're putting down. Um, you
I
know,
just know a lot of listeners are going to be first time homeowners
mm-hmm.
for themselves and their family.
Yep.
And then on the other hand is maybe some entrepreneurs maybe looking to get into multifamily houses.
Yeah, definitely.
So for the listeners that's listening and the watchers that's watching,
Mm-hmm.
I want you to explain like the single families trying to get in there with their
Yeah.
family. How does this work? What would be your best advice?
So, first time home buyers, if they have like an average credit score, I'm most likely putting them in an FHA product, which is 3.5% down. The cool thing with that loan is you get a 6% seller's concession. So you're basically able to roll 6% of the purchase price of your closing costs into the loan. So you're bringing less money to the table. So that's the plus about FHA. But I always recommend my first time home buyers, whether they're a family or, you know, entrepreneurs, like you said, that want to get into owning real estate. I always recommend to buy a two family first. Because if you buy a single family first and then 2 years decide, oh, I want to own investment property, now it's actually looked at as an investment property to where you're putting 25% down no matter what.
Mm,
Versus you buying a two family first and then going to buy a single family, it's still in the bank's eyes looked at as a primary because you're kind of bettering your situation going from a two family to a single family. It's still looked at as a primary residence, so you're still putting only 3.5% down. So I always recommend going that route because if you go the other way around, you end up spending more money.
mm, okay. Sounds about right. Can you break down the FHA loan a little bit more?
Yeah, so FHA was built for lower income or lower credit score borrowers. However, you know, if you have a higher credit score, you're probably better going in that loan anyway, only because if you don't have any money saved, only because you're going to get an even better interest rate with that FHA loan, only because if your scores are on the higher 700s, you know, 740 and you're going FHA, you're going to have a really decent interest rate. However, you know, if you were to go a conventional loan, and you have an average credit score, your interest rate is going to be a little higher
Mm-hmm.
because that loan is built for your higher, you know, assets, higher credit score borrowers, whereas FHA is more built for that first time home buyer. And generally nowadays, you're looking at average credit scores and not a lot of money saved. So FHA is always the best option from what I see.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say some of the cons of FHA loan is that they're very strict with the condition of the property. So you can't have like a peeling paint, missing handrails, broken windows, because FHA is gonna say that hey, that has to be fixed before we can close on this property. And then that goes back to the attorneys to negotiate who's fixing what,
Mm-hmm.
or if the price is being lowered because of these problems. So there's all these ins and outs that can happen that we're here to educate, you know, the community about.
Okay, I love it. So now closing costs. Can you break down? Let's just say someone gets pre-approved for
hmm
150,000. How much like would the closing cost be?
So that can vary. That's really determined on again the loan program because a part of that closing cost is that down payment. So if we're looking at FHA, you know, you got your 3.5% down, right? So you take that off the 150, and then you got all these third party fees like your attorney fee, your appraisal. the title, all these different miscellaneous fees that come up in the closing costs. So, if you're looking at 150, there's a chance you can get in between, 6 to 10 grand, depending on the property. But there's all programs out there like USDA and VA for veterans that there's no money down. So no money down doesn't mean you get to buy the house for free, but there's no down payment portion of the closing costs. So when you come to the table, there's three things. There's your prepaids, which is your taxes, your just setting up your escrow. Then you got your closing costs, and then you have your down payment. So when you go USDA or VA, when there's no down payment, that's one piece of the puzzle that's not there no more.
Mm-hmm.
So you're bringing less money to the table. So there are programs out there to get you into the home without having to bring a lump sum of money. So that's like the cool part that a lot of people don't know.
Yeah. So I'm asking these numbers because I know the listeners and the watchers may
Mhm.
not know it doesn't take 20, 30, 40, $50,000
Definitely not.
to get your first home.
Definitely
So you
not.
just said between 6 and 10 grand.
And less sometimes. If you go USDA and you get, so that 6% sellers concession I talked about earlier, so you don't have a down payment, your 6% sellers concession is covering a lot of your closing costs. Now you're just times that I have borrowers going in the house for only 2 to 3 grand, depending on the program again. And some of those programs like USDA is geographic, has to be approved. So it's rural areas. So you can't buy in center city, go USDA.
Mhm.
Looking at like maybe Bethlehem area or Ravenna, those are like USDA eligible areas, and that's something I can look up. So you can say, hey, Mel, I want to get USDA, and I'll tell you all the areas that you can look in. And your realtor will most likely know that as well.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I just want the listeners and the watchers to know you can get into your first home with 6 and 10 grand.
And not even that, I'm now again with a company that offers grants. So there's a chance that you can get in with no money, depending on, your current situation. You have to qualify for the grant. But there's grants out there as well, not even just with myself. There's Trip and Troy, there's Albany Housing, there's grants out here that we will make you aware of if that's a route you want to go.
So, what's a grant that's popular right now that you guys offer?
I mean, we have a couple grants that I can't necessarily speak on because it's regulations and stuff like that. But there are grants that, like, again, Trip has that you can call them, and I know you take like a class and you can get this grant up to a certain amount of money depending on your qualifications to help you buy a house, and that's free money. Why not take advantage of it?
So, how would someone become aware of these grants?
Um, Most of the time when I have a borrower who comes in front of me and they have the income, they have the credit, but don't have money saved, again, because of the economy, it's hard for people to save. Student debt, all these things that stop people from being able to save. I'll recommend it. I have a list that I will send out and say, hey, here's a number of grants that people you can reach out to get a grant. Sometimes it's a process. But again, it's free money. So if
Yeah.
your concern is getting into a home ASAP, a grant might not be the way. You might need to borrow something from grandma, grandpa, mom and dad, aunt and uncle. But if it's something that you're not in a rush for, I definitely recommend a grant.
Yeah, I'm just asking, like, where can we find these grants at?
Mhm.
Like, because it's
Well,
obvious, like, a lot of people just don't know.
yeah. Well, the first thing you could do is just Google grants Albany, New York, and it will pop up different grants in the area. I'm pretty sure it'll probably take you to a government site that will allow you to look up what grants are in the area. But literally look up, grants, home buying grants, Albany, New York, and I'm pretty sure a bunch of things will pop up. But again,
Okay.
you contact me directly, I have a list that I can send over and say, hey, these are the reputable people in the area that you can reach out to for grants.
How can someone find you?
Facebook, Mell T Mayuse. I'm on Instagram, team__ Mell, MELL. You can reach out to me, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm on TikTok now.
Yeah.
I'm on everything.
Never in the whole time that we've been knowing each other, I know how to say your last name. That's why I
Really?
just call you Mell T.
You know what's funny? I never realized that.
Yeah, this is
I know
Mell
you
T.
called me Mell T, but I didn't know why.
Yeah, I didn't know how to. I know how to spell it. I see it.
Right, right,
I,
right.
I said, man, I ain't messing with that.
It's
man.
funny because a lot of people don't know my name's not Mel. It's actually Shy Mel. But because growing up, I dealt with people mispronouncing it. When I got to college, I was like, it's Mel. And now I'm facing my last name. So I can't do nothing about that. You're gonna have to learn that one.
But I think we covered a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely would love to have you back.
Let's do it.
Definitely would love to have you back, and we can like zero in on
Mm-hmm.
each step or something like that.
For sure.
Because I want the listeners and the watchers to know it's possible.
Yeah, it's important. It's definitely important. Having that asset. You know, a lot of people would rather pay rent. When you pay rent, you're paying someone else's mortgage. You know what I'm saying? So why not pay your own or build equity for your own leverage? You know what I'm saying? Once you have equity in the home, you can borrow off your equity. You know, you can go to a bank and borrow off the equity you have in your home to do whatever, consolidate debt, to do repairs.
Break that down for me. Break that down.
Yeah, so there's this thing called a home equity line of credit. So it's like a credit card, but it's based off of the equity you have in your home. So if your home is worth, let's just say $100,000, and you paid $50,000 off that $100,000 mortgage, you have 50% equity in your home. So you can borrow off that equity to do repairs, to do flips, to flip homes, to consolidate debt, to pay off a car, different things. And then you have a period that you can borrow it, and then you have a period that you must pay it back in. So it's like, again, a credit card, but it's a credit card based off of the equity you have in your home. So again, a lot of people don't know that, and they're continually paying rent. And just think, if you were owning a 2-family home, that rent that you're paying every month, someone could be paying you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
So-
building that wealth.
So what I'm getting off the equity is
Mm-hmm.
you're just playing with money you already spent.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
Yep.
I like that.
Basically.
So now, two things.
Yep.
One, some words of encouragement to anyone looking to do what you do.
It's a process. It's funny. I just came back from training in Texas. So, new company. I'm down in Texas, and there was 2 groups. There's people that's been in the business, and people who are fresh. And one night, at the hotel, I was sitting downstairs in the lobby, and 2 of the other people from they were new, fresh in the business, never done a deal ever, did a mortgage, and they asked that same question, and I had to tell them, like, it gets difficult. It gets difficult. At the time, I was on straight commission. So it's discouraging, because you think in your mind, like, you see HGTV, you see all these different things that have your mindset thinking like it's a tomorrow thing that you're going to be rich. And it's not. It's been 3 years I've been in the business, and now it's finally, like, last year I seen it pick up, but now this year I know it's going to be a lot better, because I'm continually getting referrals from my referral partner relationships I've gotten. I helped you guys, so, like, just building that referral base, it comes after years. It doesn't come tomorrow. So someone who's trying to get in the business, just don't give up. Build it. It takes 2 to 3 years to build a business. Where you're a business owner, I'm a business owner, and you guys know, like, it's not tomorrow that you're successful. You got to fail a couple times to become successful.
A lot of times.
Right, and you're still gonna fail. You know what I'm saying? There's barriers I'm still gonna face, and I know it. It's just remembering what your goal is. Remembering that you ain't gonna get there if you give up. Either way, if you get to that barrier and you're like, oh, I'm not gonna continue, or you're thinking in your mind like, oh, this is stopping you from getting your goal. Either way, you're not getting to your goal. So it's just the matter of getting over that barrier and continuing.
And one more time, how can people find you?
All over social media. Facebook is Mell, Mell T Meus, Meus. I'm on Instagram, team__Mell, Mell. LinkedIn, Snapchat, TikTok, you name it, I'm on it. So that's another thing. Brand yourself. You got to brand yourself if you're a business owner. And remember that you're a business. And no matter where you go, that you're a business. You can't be out here doing crazy things, saying crazy things. I don't even talk about politics on social media, just because.
I was just talking with Mandy Joe, the tattoo artist, 2 days ago about that.
Yep.
I study business, and 2 things you don't mix is religion and politics.
100%. I never speak on it. I definitely have my opinions.
Yeah.
But I don't speak on it because it might rub one of my potential borrowers the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
One more thing. Did you get dressed up like this just for Good Morning Albany.
You know, that's why I text you saying, is this a visual or audio?
This guy can dress. This guy is like this no matter what. This guy can dress. You know what I mean? But it was a pleasure to have you.
Definitely. Thanks for having me, man.
And I mean, thank you for taking the time out to come sit down with me and
For
chop it up
sure. For sure.
and let the people know. But I don't have a proper ending yet, so
Peace.